Today I want to speak about the anomalies of interstellar object 3I Atlas and mysterious new things that we have learned, new images that we have seen, and also about the things that we maybe should see but are not being shown. There is rumors and some scientists say, well, some images that we're receiving, they should be better. They should be better. We should see more of 3I Atlas than some hobby astronomer with a $1,000 or $10,000 telescope, where we have like billion-dollar equipment at NASA. But also they're telling us the Chinese images that we have received about a few weeks ago, that they have now proof that they were intentionally downscaled, made more grainy, made more invisible, so to speak, so that we do not get a clear picture of 3I Atlas that we might be able to get from these images. So I cannot tell you guys whether that is true or not, but certainly I have to say, whenever I show you new pictures, these are images from hobby astronomers that are really, really good. And then you compare them with the images that we have received from NASA, the high-rise images, and we've waited so long for these images. And you're wondering, that is kind of strange. And of course I have to mention Harvard astrophysicist and Professor Avi Loeb, who's leading in this case. And he has just reported, and he has written a blog about this, but he has also said it in several interviews. In one of his first papers, where he mentioned just in one last sentence, basically, that we have to look at another option, that this interstellar object might have come into our solar system by intention. And they forced him to take that out, or they wouldn't publish his paper. And of course, he says that this is not okay. And he has written papers that are peer-reviewed, and you have to look at other options, especially since we only have the third interstellar visitor that is highly different from the first two. So we'll get to that, because that is really, really interesting, guys. Hi, everyone, by the way, my 3I Atlas fans and freaks, and thanks for tuning in. And hey, guys, since we're speaking about this, I don't have any sponsors or anything on this channel, so my only sponsors are you by viewing my content. So it would be great if you could like and hype this video early, share it with your friends, leave me a comment to support my channel. Thank you so much for that. And Avi Loeb, he says that 3I Atlas shows strange features. We know that, especially this antitail. We're coming back to speak about that antitail again and again, because it flips direction in the Hubble images that we have seen, and it cannot be normal comet dust that does that. So Avi Loeb has suggested that it may come from evaporating ice fragments or larger pieces that are not affected by the sun. You've seen my video that says in the thumbnail, they're not alone. 3I Atlas is not alone. So he says that some experts at NASA dismiss these anomalies, all of these anomalies. We have like 15 by now, too quickly. And he says the scientific community spends billions of dollars searching for tiny little particles somewhere in space, which was just a speculative idea and turned out to be nothing. But they don't want to look at possibilities, what 3I Atlas could be. So he is questioning why, considering a technological origin for this interstellar object, is treated as controversial. And he says he believes all anomalies should be explored with an open mind to advance science. He's not a tinfoil hat guy that says this is aliens. He's just said, let's investigate this. And we've waited so long for the NASA high-rise images, and then they released them and they held a press conference. Many of you have seen it, and they didn't even address all these anomalies. For them, they basically do not exist, it seems. And of course, we know this antitail, that it really looks like you're driving with your car through the fog and you have extra headlights, and that's how it looks. It's forward looking, so to speak. So is this a beam to clear 3I Atlas's path through space? This is a question that Avi Loeb asked, and he said 3I Atlas might be using a beam to protect itself from potential damage. That makes sense, right? So just recently has given an interview. He said by analyzing the NASA high-rise images, there appears to be a glowing extension ahead of 3I Atlas in the direction of its motion. So not bound by anything else. It's that, and it's not trailing behind as it would be normally expected with a normal comet. I've shown you the comparison images between comet and 3I Atlas. I'll show it to you here again. So he says, well, this plume could represent a beam of light or a stream of particles emitted by a spacecraft to clear micrometeorites and other tiny impactors that might otherwise strike the object, whatever it is, right? So this would effectively create a protective path and prevent damage as 3I Atlas travels through space. And many people are accusing NASA. What is NASA scared of admitting? We have whistleblower people that say, for example, this was just out a few days ago, that President Trump was thoroughly briefed on extraterrestrial human hybrid programs supposedly operating on Earth. And then, guys, we know all these UFO sightings from the military that have come out, these grainy videos that we see. There's documentaries out now with people that worked for NASA, that worked for the NSA, that worked in all these areas. And it's a huge amount of people. And they all say, we cannot, CIA including, we cannot give you the specific details because it's classified, but we're trying to bring out as much as possible. And they have spoken before Congress. They're saying we do have alien bodies in our possession. We do have alien spacecraft in our possession. And they basically confirm that Roswell, that incident happened. So I ran this through AI and said, what's the probability that all of these people that are high-ranked people are grouped together to create this false narrative, right? And the chances are zero that so many people from so many areas, and they have received big backlash. So you be your own judge. Really, I don't know what to think of this. I'm here to tell you about this. I want to give you an overview about what's happening. Let's get back to 3I Atlas because very, very interesting new facts and new, how can I say that, quotes that kind of make you scratch your head a little bit, guys. So have a coffee, a tea, something stronger. I don't know. I'm having coffee to keep me going. Let's dive into this, guys. I promise you it's really, really interesting. And don't forget the hype and the early like. So let's start. What we know for sure, guys, is that something has entered our solar system that is not from our solar system, and nothing about it makes sense. Not its brightness. It was so bright from the start that it was baffling scientists. Not its size. It has the size of Manhattan. Not its tail, not its direction, not even its mass. So 3I Atlas is only the third confirmed interstellar object that humanity has ever seen. It is a visitor from another star system, a traveler that is older than our own sun, older than Earth, and older than life itself, maybe. Who knows? So this one here, 3I Atlas, it breaks the rules. And I want to try to scratch the surface and find out what scientists are quietly whispering behind closed doors. Because 3I Atlas is not behaving like a comet. It is not behaving like an asteroid. It certainly is not behaving like anything that, from our knowledge, should exist in deep interstellar space because it's too large. And the strangest part, it has passed by Mars, close enough to that NASA's high-rise camera has photographed it. So I want to show you what we know, but importantly, I want to show you what we don't know. It's the third interstellar visitor. We know that ʻOumuamua was discovered in 2017, and that's important to know because we will do some comparisons. The 2I Borisov discovered in 2019. ʻOumuamua was discovered by an Hawaiian telescope. That's why the name, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But it was thin, like a razor. It has accelerated without a tail, and it has reflected sunlight also in a strange way. But Borisov, for example, looked like a classic comet, lots of gas, lots of dust. 3I Atlas is neither. It behaves wrong from every angle. When it was first discovered on July 1st by the Atlas survey, that's a sky scanning system that is designed to find asteroids that threaten Earth. So that's why it was built, right? Look if something's crashing onto Earth. That's why Atlas is named 3I Atlas, the third interstellar object discovered by the Atlas survey. So of course, the Atlas survey wasn't built to detect interstellar objects coming from deep space at insane speeds. But that's exactly what 3I Atlas is. And when 3I Atlas was first discovered, the astronomers immediately noticed it was far too bright for its distance. It was so far away, but it was so bright. And brightness in astronomy is very simple. The more light you reflect, the bigger you are, the more dust you produce. But when they ran the numbers backwards, they got something that they did not expect to produce. This much brightness at such a distance, 3I Atlas would need to be roughly 17 miles wide in diameter. 17 miles wide, 20 kilometers wide. That is Manhattan. That is the size of an entire city. ʻOumuamua was like soccer field size. But here's the problem. As bright as it was, so there should be a 17-mile wide interstellar object drifting around, right? The physics of how solar systems form and how debris is ejected into space makes this size almost impossible. Statistically, we shouldn't even see one such object in the entire age of humanity. But we just did, we do. But 3I Atlas isn't just bright, its mass is off the charts. ʻOumuamua is tiny, maybe like 100 to 200 meters. Less than half a mile, a quarter mile. Borisov, about 0.7 miles, 1 kilometer. 3I Atlas, up to 17 miles, 20 kilometers. That's 20 times bigger than Borisov and hundreds of times more massive than ʻOumuamua. So to throw something this large out of another star system, that would require, guys, enormous gravitational forces, collisions of planets, or catastrophic events that we normally don't see. How did this big chunk, if it's a rock, form? So 3I Atlas, statistically, it's a black swan. It should not exist in interstellar space. There's not enough material out there that would form this huge thing. But yet here it is. And guys, this is a massive problem for astronomy. Is that why they're kind of trying to keep down the anomalies? Because I tell you why this is a massive problem. The scientists estimate that space between stars contains almost no large rocks. Almost no large rocks. That's the current theory. Small dust, check mark. Yes. Tiny pebbles, yeah, for sure. But Manhattan-sized objects? Almost definitely not. This cannot be real, right? But every observation confirmed it and continues to confirm it. And as more data are coming in, things get even more strange. They get stranger. Let's briefly talk about this Mars flyby and then this blurry high-rise image that we got. This is the NASA high-rise camera that is connected with the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and that's one of the best cameras ever sent to another planet. So this is not some hobby astronomer camera equipment. So it can see objects on Mars that are smaller than a car. So when 3i Atlas was passing by Mars, it was passing Mars incredibly close. NASA tried to photograph it. Many say they failed because the result, what we saw, is basically a blurry streak, a jitter, no clear image. It doesn't look different from what astronomers on Earth are sending us every day. It looks worse, actually. So there's no clear image. Why? Because 3i Atlas was moving so fast and its brightness varied so strangely that the camera couldn't lock onto it. This has never happened before with an object of this size. And then we have this direction of this, how it's called motion glow anomaly. That's one of the craziest parts, although I think they're crazier ones. When the astronomers observed 3i Atlas, they expected a tail blowing away from the sun like every normal comet. We talked about this. Sun heats ice, gas blows out, tail points away, but 3i Atlas had something else, a glow in the direction that 3i Atlas was moving. As if you drive a car, you turn on your headlights, your fog lights. That's what it has, guys. The opposite of a normal tail, a forward-facing plume. Comets do not do this. Asteroids do not do this. So what's causing the glow ahead of it? It's not an optical illusion. We've proven that. Two theories. Jets of gas shooting forward like thrusters. Something reflecting sunlight in a way that we have never seen. Unexplained. So it's so important to look at this thing. But natural sublimation cannot produce forward-facing jets when the ice is turning into gas because of the sun. Gas always blows away from the sun, period. Forward glow means something else, and NASA's not addressing that. They're not trying to find an explanation, or they're not telling us that they're even trying to find one. So it was flying by Mars. Now it has mysteriously changed trajectory right into Jupiter's stellar radius. This is, for me, the craziest anomaly. And many ask the question now, did 3i Atlas avoid Earth? It came shockingly close enough to Mars, right? Close enough to be imaged by an orbiter, maybe, somewhat. But when you compare its path to Earth, something weird shows up. It passed us. It passed further away from Earth than from Mars, even though Earth was in a more likely path. So it doesn't want to be seen by us? That's a natural question. You ask, did it avoid Earth? No one's claiming that it did do that deliberately, but we have to look at the facts. We don't know why it did that. Its trajectory is unusual enough that you can't blame people for raising an eyebrow like this, right? I am raising that eyebrow. Definitely I'm raising one, guys, because it is strange. We have radio silence. That is also strange. When 3i Atlas arrived, radio astronomers pointed like their big dishes at it, and they listened. They listened for communication, radar reflections, spacecraft-like signals, engineered pulses, anything unusual. The result? Silence. Nobody said anything. Although 3i Atlas comes from almost the same direction like the famous wow signal. We talked about this. So this silence was exactly the same silence that we heard from ʻOumuamua. But here's the important part. Silence does not mean natural. Most spacecraft, actually, including our spacecraft, are silent unless spoken to. And if 3i Atlas was tumbling or rotating, it it's possible transmitters would not point at us anyways. So the radio silence tells us actually nothing. But the jets are still a topic, guys, because they still show up. Are these jets natural or artificial jets? So scientists try to understand the forward glow. Some don't. But those weird jets or plumes. If this is natural sublimation, meaning gas boiling off, then the gas speed should be 1 kilometer per second. These are the rules of physics. But if these are engineered thrusters, like tiny ones, the speed would be much slower. And guess what? Guess what? The gas of 3I Atlas moves slower than sublimation would allow it to. It's not proof of anything, but it's interesting. Why is this possible? And here's where ʻOumuamua comes back into the story, because ʻOumuamua also showed it had no tail, it had no dust, it had unexplained acceleration, and it had changes in brightness. So exactly the kind of anomalies that push scientists to think something else is going on. That's why let's compare the three objects again before we move to the next part. ʻOumuamua is small, no tail, accelerated without obvious cause, thin, elongated, brightness changed strangely, no gas detected. 2I Borisov looked like a normal comet, likely natural, icy, dusty, typical behavior. 3I Atlas blowing our minds, right? I don't have to repeat it all. Watch my video. I'll put that in the end screen with all the anomalies. And because I don't want to make that too long, because I want to get to the next topic, guys. Why won't NASA talk about this? There's definitely such a huge difference between the three objects. NASA's tracking systems and NEO, that's the Near Earth Object program, they are designed to find asteroids that could hit the Earth as like a pre-warning system, right? 3I Atlas is not one of those. It's not on a collision path with Earth. It's not dangerous to Earth. At least we think so. And interstellar objects per se, they move too fast for like sample return missions, unfortunately. So right now, NASA has no spacecraft to chase it, has no prepared mission plan, no public incentive to study it deeply, which is sad. And astronomers are left with telescopes, amateur observations, and basically lucky spacecraft alignments, which means many of the best images of 3I Atlas come actually from amateurs and not from NASA, which is kind of shocking. But we know that interstellar, we call it impactors, are the real threat, because even though 3I Atlas doesn't seem to be a threat in that way right now, near Earth asteroids, they move slowly. We can nudge them, we can paint them, we can push them with lasers, we can detonate nukes near them. We have time to react. But an interstellar object, it comes in at 50 to 100 kilometers per second with no warning from any possible direction. And if 3I Atlas hit Earth, a 20 kilometer, 17-mile wide object the size of Manhattan, that would end civilization. Let's be clear about this. Not the human species probably, but human society. So it's absolutely relevant to compare 3I Atlas to big Earth impacts like the Chicxulub, the Tunguska, the Chelyabinsk. I'm pronouncing this wrong, I know. Because the energy of an interstellar impact would be far, far greater. So why don't we study them more? So if there is another one coming with another course, that we are prepared. If we're just talking about the natural version, let me be clear about that. Because 3I Atlas is not just some comet, not just some rock. It's a message from another star system. Not in words, but in physics, that it is already, and it tells us what exists out there, what can drift between stars, what can potentially cross path with Earth, and how little we truly know and understand these objects. ʻOumuamua broke the rules. 2I Borisov bent the rules. 3I Atlas shatters them. It should force us to rethink how solar systems eject material, how rare large interstellar bodies are, how planetary defense should work in such a case, and what surprises the universe still holds. So spending billions of dollars to look for some tiny particle somewhere instead of really throwing money at something like this is kind of crazy in my opinion. So what is 3I Atlas? Is it a natural interstellar comet? Is it a relic of a shattered exoplanet? Is it a messenger from another system? Or is it something that we simply do not have yet the language to describe or understand? But whatever the heck it is, I always say, 3I Atlas has already rewritten a part of astronomy, in my opinion, and it won't be the last. And the universe is sending us messages. We should pay attention because the next visitor might not pass by harmlessly, guys. Really, what do you think? Let me know in the comment, guys. I hope you found this interesting. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope I see you in the next one, because here in the end screen I have put some interesting stuff: earthquakes, landslides, tsunamis, volcanoes, and whatever the heck it is, 3I Atlas. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe and prepared. See you in a second. Click here.